You don't own your home owns you. He did everything right. Married by 32, bought the house at 34, 4 bedrooms, big backyard, quiet street. By 48, the mortgage still had 17 years to go, but the lawn was perfect. The kitchen had been redone twice. From the outside, it looked like stability, like success. But on the inside, his credit card was maxed out, his emergency fund was gone, and every month felt like a slow leak he couldn't patch. He believed what everyone told him. Owning a home is the smartest investment you'll ever make. So he made the down payment, took the 30-year loan, and carried it like a badge of adulthood. But year after year, the investment started to feel like a weight. Mortgage, property tax, roof repairs, insurance hikes, water damage, HVAC replacement. It never stopped. And now, when he needed flexibility, when life had gotten harder, the house offered no help. It was supposed to be his anchor. Instead, it became his trap. Because here's the part no one tells you. If your house doesn't produce income, it's not an asset. It's a liability with good lighting. He couldn't sell. The market was down. He couldn't refinance. Credit score had dropped. He couldn't rent it out. The mortgage was too high. So he kept working, kept paying, kept pretending that he was building equity while quietly losing every ounce of financial freedom. And the question that haunted him wasn't, "Did I buy too much house?" It was, "If this is such a great investment, why does it feel like a burden?" If you stop paying, you'll find out who really owns your house. Most people think buying a home means they own it. They sign the papers, hold the keys, hang the family photos. It feels like ownership. But the truth is, until that mortgage is gone, until the last dollar of interest, taxes, and insurance is paid, you're not the owner. You're a tenant of the bank. A well-decorated, fully responsible tenant with none of the flexibility and all of the risk. And even after the mortgage is done, the payments don't stop. You stop paying property tax? The county takes it. You skip insurance and something happens? It's all on you. And maintenance? That's the hidden cost no one includes in the celebration post. The average homeowner spends between 1% to 3% of the property's value every year on upkeep. On a $400,000 home, that's $4,000 to $12,000, gone before you even blink. That's not investment, that's overhead. Take a standard 30-year mortgage. A $300,000 loan at 6.5% interest means you'll end up paying over $680,000 total by the time it's done, more than double. That's the real price of ownership, not what you signed for, what you'll eventually pay. And all along the way, if life shifts, job loss, divorce, market crash, your investment can't help you. It sits there, demanding, waiting, offering no liquidity, no flexibility, no way out. Meanwhile, people walk around saying, "My house is my biggest asset." But here's the truth. An asset is something that pays you. If it costs you money every month and produces zero cash flow, it's not building you wealth, it's draining it. Owning a home isn't bad, but mistaking it for an active investment is where the pain begins. You can't take a wall off and sell it to pay for a medical bill. You can't liquidate your roof to invest in a new opportunity. You can't pull out $500 for a car repair by tapping the bricks. That's the illusion of ownership. You feel secure, but you're trapped in a system where the walls don't move, but your life does. And that's the part we need to say out loud. Ownership without strategy is just obligation. If your house isn't working for you, it's working against you. Not maliciously, just quietly, month by month, bill by bill, year by year. And the cost isn't just financial, it's mental, emotional, the pressure to keep up, the fear of losing it, the shame of struggling while living in something that's supposed to be the dream. So next time someone says, "You own your home," ask yourself, "Do I? Or am I just paying to stay in a place that's owned by my decisions from 10 years ago? Your house rich, but cash poor. They had $300,000 in equity. That's what the bank told them. That's what their online statement showed. Every time they logged into their mortgage portal, that number sat there, glowing like a promise, like safety, like wealth. They felt proud. "We've built something," they said. "We're secure." But then life happened. A medical emergency, out-of-pocket expenses, a shortfall that insurance wouldn't cover. They needed $5,000, fast. And for all that supposed wealth tied up in their home, they couldn't touch a dollar of it. No liquid savings, no quick access to cash, just bricks and silence. Because here's what no one tells you. Home equity is not money. You can't spend it. You can't use part of it. You can't sell one room to make rent. You either refinance, take a loan, or sell the whole thing. And in most cases, those options come with fees, stress, time, and risk. Equity is theoretical until it's not, until it disappears in a market dip, until the appraisal comes in lower than expected, until the bank says no. And in the meantime, you're stuck with bills, pressure, and the false sense that you should be fine because you own a home. That's the trap, the illusion. We've been sold this idea that equity equals wealth. But real wealth is not what's locked up in a building. It's what's available when life hits. It's liquidity, control, options. Because it doesn't matter how big the number on paper is if you can't access it when it matters. And here's the hard truth. Millions of Americans live like this. House rich, cash poor. Struggling to cover $1,000 in unexpected expenses while sitting on 6 figures of equity. But you can't eat equity. You can't invest it without jumping through hoops. And it doesn't pay you unless you make it work, strategically. So the next time someone says, "I've got $250K in my home," the real question is, can you touch it? Can you move it? Can you use it? Because if the answer is no, it's not security. It's a static number inside a pretty illusion. Owning a home is the most expensive way to feel stable. He didn't notice it at first. A leaky faucet here, a broken sprinkler head there. Then the water heater gave out. Then came the property tax reassessment. Then the insurance premium doubled, again. And somewhere between the roof inspection and the new HVAC unit, he sat down with his bank statements and did something he hadn't done in years. He added it all up. The result made his chest tighten. In the past 12 months, he had spent 61% of his total take-home income on the house. Not luxuries, not renovations, just keeping it running. Mortgage, insurance, repairs, taxes, utilities, lawn care. And suddenly, the house, his proudest asset, started to feel like a second job that didn't pay. This is what no one warns you about when they tell you buying a home is smart. The true cost isn't just the mortgage, it's the slow, invisible accumulation of everything else. The $900 emergency repair, the $2,400 property tax, the $6,000 roof job you didn't plan for, the new fence the HOA required, the updated water heater that had to be installed to stay compliant, the lawn maintenance you no longer have the energy to do yourself. When you rent, these are someone else's problem. When you own, they're all yours. And it's not just the money. It's the mental bandwidth, the emotional labor, the constant hum of, what's going to break next? You start budgeting in fear. You stop dreaming. You tighten up. Because even if you're making a decent income, it feels like you're just breaking even, and you can't figure out why. Here's why. You don't work for your home, but it quietly made you its employee. You maintain it, serve it, schedule around it, borrow against it, prioritize it above your peace, your travel, your rest. All in the name of stability. But what kind of stability leaves you stretched thin, living one major repair away from stress? Owning isn't wrong, but owning blindly is. When you believe the myth without counting the cost, the house stops being a haven and becomes a weight. So before you celebrate your mortgage like a milestone, ask yourself, is this house working for me? Or am I working for it? Because security isn't found in four walls. It's found in how free you are inside them. They told you a house is the American dream. They forgot to mention the mortgage. He still remembers his father's words like scripture. Buy a house as soon as you can. That's how men build wealth. It wasn't advice, it was a legacy. A rule passed down from generation to generation, as sacred and unquestioned as Sunday dinners or 4th of July fireworks. And when he finally bought that house at 35, there was pride in his chest, like he had crossed into real adulthood, like he had made it. But now, a decade later, that dream feels outdated, or maybe misplaced. Because the American dream was built in the 1950s, when one income could pay for a home, college, and a retirement plan. When homes cost $14,000 and salaries could keep up. When property taxes weren't half your paycheck. That economy doesn't exist anymore. But the myth does, and it's cost millions of people their liquidity, their options, and their peace. We were sold a dream with one image, a smiling family in front of a house, not a rental. A house. The narrative was simple. Ownership equals success. If you own a home, you're responsible, settled, safe. But no one added the footnotes. That home might eat half your income. That you could be stuck there in a bad market. That your career options shrink because the mortgage needs to be paid. That you might build equity while missing every other opportunity to grow your wealth. We weren't taught how to think like investors. We were taught how to think like settlers. Buy the home, plant the roots, lock into the system, and stay. But what if the system changed? What if the house became the reason you couldn't pivot careers, couldn't invest, couldn't breathe? The lie wasn't in the house itself. It was in the idea that the house would save you. But wealth isn't found in drywall. It's found in movement, flexibility, leverage. And when your biggest asset is also your biggest anchor, it's time to rethink the dream. Owning a home doesn't make you wrong, but assuming it will make you rich, without a strategy, is how the middle class stays stuck, not because they're lazy, but because they were trained to believe that four walls and a yard would do the work for them. So ask yourself, did I buy into a house or into a narrative I never questioned? Renting doesn't make you poor. Misusing ownership does. There was a time when saying, "I rent," felt like an admission of failure, like you hadn't figured life out yet, like you were falling behind while everyone else invested in their future. At dinner parties, people would nod politely. "Oh, you're still renting?" As if it were a temporary illness, a stage you'd outgrow, like braces. But what if that belief is backward? Meet Daniel. He's 47, lives in a modern rental condo, pays $2,400 a month. And while his peers were locking into 30-year mortgages and roof repairs, Daniel was doing something different. He took the $100,000 he could have used as a down payment and built 2 online businesses. Now, 5 years later, he has $7,000 a month in passive income and full location freedom. He still rents, but his cash flows, his risk is spread, and his calendar is his. Daniel isn't the exception. He's just not tied to the old belief that ownership equals success. Renting isn't always cheap, but it is flexible. You can move when markets shift. You can relocate for opportunity. You can redirect capital into assets that generate return, instead of tying it up in property taxes and a leaky roof. Renting doesn't drain wealth. Ownership without purpose does. Because owning a house for the wrong reason is like wearing golden handcuffs. looks nice, feels impressive. But try moving. Try pivoting careers. Try investing aggressively. You can't. Your wealth is stuck in drywall and the illusion of status. Meanwhile, the renter with a plan has freedom most owners only dream of. Let's say you're paying $2,500 a month in rent. That sounds like a waste, right? Until you realize someone with a $3,000 month mortgage is also paying $800 a month in hidden costs, repairs, taxes, maintenance. Their real housing cost is higher than yours. But you have cash. They have equity they can't touch. So here's the mindset shift. Wealth isn't about what you own. It's about what you control. Renting doesn't make you small. It makes you nimble. And in a world that's changing fast, nimble beats static every time. So next time someone says, "Why are you still renting?" you can say, "Because I'd rather own my freedom than own a roof that owns me." Renting doesn't make you poor. Misusing ownership does. She was 42, divorced, and renting a small 2-bedroom apartment. No yard, no mortgage, no lawnmower to maintain. Her friends, most of them homeowners, made comments like, "You should really buy soon," as if her financial life was in a holding pattern. But what they didn't see was the $1,000 a month she invested into a growing portfolio of index funds, high-yield savings, and her online business. All because she wasn't tied to a house. She wasn't behind. She was building, quietly, strategically, liquid. For years, we've been told that renting is throwing money away, that if you're not building equity, you're wasting potential. But what if the opposite is true? What if the real waste is locking up your money in an asset that doesn't move, doesn't grow fast enough, and doesn't allow you to? Owning a home isn't automatically better. It's better only if it supports your goals, if it gives you leverage, if it pays you back. But for many, it becomes a financial cage. Fixed payments, hidden costs, no flexibility. Meanwhile, renting, the thing we're told is less than, can offer what many homeowners secretly crave: mobility, liquidity, freedom. Renting means you can relocate for opportunity. It means you're not funding a roof replacement or a cracked foundation. It means your capital can go toward cash-producing assets, not just bricks. And no, renting doesn't mean you don't build wealth. It just means you build it elsewhere. Because the real game isn't ownership, it's control of your money, of your time, of your options. That's why some of the smartest financial moves are made by renters who know how to invest the difference, who don't feel shame for paying someone else's mortgage because they're focused on growing their own balance sheet in ways that a static home can't. So, no, renting doesn't make you poor. But buying a home without a strategy, just to keep up, can quietly drain your future. Wealth isn't about pride of ownership, it's about power of direction. And sometimes the smartest path forward is the one with no white picket fence. The turning point wasn't selling the house, it was redefining its role. Up until that moment, he saw his home the way most people do, as a finish line, a reward, a symbol of stability. But one day, while sitting at the kitchen table, looking at rising bills and a flat savings account, he asked himself a question no one had taught him to ask. What is this house doing for me? It was beautiful, but it wasn't earning. It wasn't solving problems. It wasn't giving him leverage, just pride. That's when he decided, if I'm going to own this thing, it has to work. He started small, listed the guest room on Airbnb on weekends. Within 2 months, that extra income covered groceries. Later, he rented out the garage as storage, then refinanced and pulled a HELOC, using part of the equity to invest in his wife's e-commerce side hustle. Within a year, the house went from a static symbol to an active tool. Same address, different outcome. Because here's the truth, a house is not bad, but if it doesn't generate cash flow, capital, or capacity, it's just decorative debt. You don't have to sell your home. You don't have to feel guilt for owning. But if you want freedom, the house needs a function beyond pride. Let's be clear, renting a room? That's leverage. Airbnb-ing the basement? That's strategy. Using a HELOC to build income-producing assets? That's momentum. Running a business from home to deduct expenses? That's alignment. There are ways to make ownership work, but it requires one shift. Stop asking, how much is my house worth? Start asking, how much is my house earning? Because your home should not just be where you live. It should be part of how you build. And if it's not adding to your freedom, then it's quietly subtracting from it. Security isn't a roof. It's a system that lets you breathe. He used to believe that 4 walls and a mortgage were the foundation of a good life, that as long as he had a roof over his head, one he owned, he'd be safe. But safety isn't in the drywall. It's not in the address. It's not even in the equity. It's in the clarity, the ability to pivot when life shifts, the freedom to say yes or no without a house payment dictating the answer. Because real security isn't in owning a home. It's in owning your options. So many people live inside houses that look like wealth, but feel like pressure. Beautiful kitchens, empty accounts, landscaped yards, silent resentment. We were taught to believe a home equals stability. But in a world that changes faster than mortgage terms, stability needs to be something deeper. It needs to be a system. One where your money flows, where your capital works, where your life isn't tied to a structure, but supported by a strategy. That's why some of the most financially free people don't look wealthy in the traditional sense. They rent, they own small, they move light. But they sleep better at night because their freedom isn't tied to a front porch. It's protected by flexibility, liquidity, and clear thinking. So if you own a home, great. But ask yourself, is it serving you, or are you serving it? Because your house might be part of your wealth, but it is not your wealth. Wealth is being able to choose, to adjust, to breathe. A home doesn't make you financially safe. Financial clarity does.